Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's June 3rd, 2020. We've been real busy this last week and a half, however long it's been since I posted a video. And I'm going to try and catch up on a few of the topics. And today, the topic that I wanted to share with you is some of the bed prep that I had to do. We made a video not too long ago pulling the tarps off and trying to pull all the T-posts out and getting ready to get the beds prepped and doing lots of weeding. And so part of the video that I want to share with you today is using the Earthway Seeder to plant the sweet corn in a couple of rows. Now that goes really quickly. It's just a time-lapse GoPro footage, but I just wanted to mention a few things about the Earthway Seeder, things that I like about it. And I use that and the Jang Seeder around here. The other part of the video that I want to share with you it really stems from several videos I've made about how quickly do wood chips decompose, how we built and I made a video, Ask Me Anything, how quickly do wood chips decompose. And I made a whole bunch of videos about the wood chips that we put in our paths. 3 years ago, I made a video on the beds that I'll be working on today. And I'll put a link in the upper right-hand corner to that video. And how I took fresh wood chips that just came from the tree service and I built up paths that were this deep and with wood chips and build up compost that was this deep as well. And over the last 3 years, those wood chips have completely broken down now. Now there's the process of the compost admixing into the wood chips. And last year I began using the tilther to go ahead and further mix up the wood chips with the compost. And so this year I think you may see me, it was a few days ago I shot this video. So I'm using 3 basic tools. The first one is using the rototiller, and the second one is using the tilther, and I'm also using the and it may show up in this video, is using the swivel plow to go ahead and turn the paths up into the beds. That may not be in this particular video. But regarding the rototiller, I typically don't like using rototiller on our beds. This year I elected to go ahead and just use the rototiller instead of the power harrow. And our rototiller turns like this. And really does a lot of damage to the soil structure and all, so I don't like using it. The power harrow turns like this and only disturbs the very, it depends on, you can do it just a ½ inch to 2 inches deep. Going ahead and just prepping and loosening up the soil so that you can use seeders and you can make easy transplanting, but you're not destroying much of the soil architecture. So in videos before, you've seen me use the broad fork to really open up and aerate the soil, and then using that power harrow. This year I decided I'm not using the power harrow, and the only reason is because my weakened state. I can't overdo it, and the power harrow is quite a bit heavier as an attachment to the BCS tractor, the BCS 749. So I'm trying not to overdo it with myself physically, and I've actually twisted my back some, so I'm in pain right now. So using the rototiller is also is a rear attachment on the BCS tractor, but it's much lighter and it's smaller and it's easier for me to maneuver around. Now the way our beds are set up, they're close to our dog run walls that are there. They're close to a whole variety of things on our property. So our beds aren't set up like a market gardener would be setting them up. It's not for maximum production. It's to fit into our lifestyle and being really close to the house to make it really easy to go on out and get the vegetable matter. So 2 things I'll say is, number one, I keep all of my cedar components, whether they're the rollers for the Jang Seeder, and I've made videos on the Jang Seeder before. That's really my favorite cedar. It's about 4 times as expensive, 3.5 times as expensive as the Earthway Seeder. But the Jang Seeder is really the ultimate. But I don't need to use that all the time. it's a little bit heavier. The other one that I'm using is this Earthway Seeder. I think it comes with 6 plates for various different types of seeds. Probably that they determined they were the most common ones. They have the popcorn, the sweet corn, they have rutabaga, they have your brassicas like your broccoli, cauliflower, and all that. There's, geez, just about every seed you can think of. And so I thought what I'd do is just say a few things about the Earthway Seeder, things that I like about it and things that I don't like so much about it. But I use it every year for certain seeds because it's quick and easy and light. And that's the first thing. The first thing I'll say about it is super light. It's made out of aluminum and plastic, but it is pretty durable. The one thing I would say about using any of the seeders, it's really essential to have the soil prepared, the soil surface really be prepared. So it's nice and loose, so that as you're driving the seeder through the area, the part that actually separates and makes plows a little furrow for the seeds to drop in is actually easy for it to go through. You'll have much more success if your soil is adequately prepared beforehand. And certainly this little unit does a great job. It has easily exchangeable seed plates. The thing I don't like about it is I could see these actually wearing out. And some people will actually take a little vegetable oil and just put it on the surface of it before you mount these seed plates in. But that's a new seed plate just mounted inside of this. And I'll shoot a little GoPro footage so you can see. The hopper doesn't have a hole in the bottom, it has a hole in the side, so you only fill the hopper to a line that you can see inside of the unit. It has this nice little aluminum stand that's really handy, so that when you want to adjust something, adjust the plow on it, you can just loosen up the wing nut. Hopefully they're showing up. And then I can raise or lower the plow that's going to create the little furrow for the seed to fit in. And so it starts off with this, as the front wheel is turning, the seeds are getting loaded from the hopper into the seed plate, and then it drops down into the furrow. The small chain in the back part here actually is very good for just dragging behind it and puts a little bit of soil over the surface of the seed that was just deposited. And then this rear wheel creates a nice little solid compaction for it. You do have to use a little bit of extra weight with this seeder. You want to make sure you have good contact so this wheel is turning and so that your seeds get deposited at the appropriate distance. So I like it because it's lightweight. It's really easy to use all of the different seed plates, quick and easy to exchange them. It's very durable. It's lasted quite a long time. The handles are a little bit too short for me. I'm not real happy with the handle length. You do have to tilt it a little bit to the right. So, and I'm right-handed, so if you're walking down on the right-hand side of it and just tilt it a little bit, that helps to make sure that the seeds get deposited through the seed plate as well. And you just keep a little bit of down pressure so that you're making sure that this front wheel is making good contact with the soil. I wish the handles were a little bit longer. This right here I don't use. This is for a row marker. So as you're going down the bed, you can adjust where the next row is going to be placed. You know, I don't use that myself. I'll probably take it off, but I think it's really handy for someone who's just doing beds after they don't have permanent raised beds and they're putting down rows of corn or whatever it may be. So that's my quick and dirty explanation of the Earthway Seeder. I think it's great. They're about 125 bucks, I think. And there are other seeders that are in between the Earthway Seeder and the Jang Seeder in price and all. I haven't had any experience with any of those. This has held up very well, and I use it every year, and it does a great job. Now, it comes with, I think, 6 seed plates. I also bought the additional seed plates that you can get. I seldom use those because I use the Jang seeder all the time. But for quick and easy seeding, this thing is really good, and it's really economically priced. And that having a seeder, instead of, just like for me, the vacuum seeder for rapidly seeding, getting the seeds in each one of the cells of my 72 cell flats, that has saved me so much time instead of using an envelope or doing it by hand, putting the seeds in each one of the cells. This makes the work of getting your seeds in the ground over with quickly. So if you really want to get serious about gardening, having something like this, if you're going to be putting in carrots or corn or radishes, and you live in a warm enough climate, you can just direct seed everything instead of having to do like we do here in a cold environment, use all of the vacuum seeder and doing all of our seedlings, getting them started inside. So, and I would say keep it all together. Find yourself some sort of container. Some seed plates will have the name and size of one seed, but you may end up picking up pelleted seed at some time and use a different seed plate for it. Create a table is one thing, and keep that inside of here as well. Get them laminated so everything stays good, because you never know what's going to happen outside. I like having all these things in a container like this because the wind picks up here and things can get blown around, and I can keep moving and get the job done. So the next part of this video, I'll try and overdub what I'm going to talk about with using the tilther, because the tilther is really good at doing weeding. It's really good for getting the soil surface prepped very, very easily and quickly. I use it for several other tasks, and maybe I'll make a video about that as well. It's actually for assisting in doing some decomposition of leaves and aged wood chips as well. Trying to build soil that's pretty healthy, where I can get the microbes moving along a little bit quicker and all. So the next part of this video, we'll go to the Gopro time-lapse video, and I'll try and dub that, speak about that as well. So here we are at the eastern garden bed. On the right side is a long hoop tunnel where the scarlet red runner beans are, and lettuce and spinach at this time. I'm using the tilther that I purchased through Johnny Select Seeds, and this is a tool that I'm actually going down the paths right now. And the reason that I'm going down the paths is I'm mixing the wood chips that are now 3 years old using this tilther. And because there's very few chunks and very few rocks in it, it isn't so bad that the tilther can actually kill the weed seeds, disrupt them, and actually reestablish where the paths are. And this area will all be fenced in, as you'll see in some of the next videos. But I'm going back and forth with the tilther. That helps to maintain the standard width of the path, stir up and mix up the wood chips that are decomposed now, remove the weeds, and also not level but flatten out the paths so that it's much more comfortable to work in as time goes on. So here I just changed the drill and going through and just clearing up each one of the paths. And again, it's hard to tell because it's in a time-lapse video, but I'm going back and forth over here, which is mixing it up, getting some of the compost that's fallen off of the permanent raised beds over the last 3 years and into the paths, mixing that up. And I used the same process last year, and that really helped to speed up the decomposition of the weeds. And I'm getting them as weed seeds because we did have the tarp on it over the winter months. But unfortunately, I let the weeds go to seed last season, and as a result, they just took over, and there's a plethora of seeds. Now I'm using my little extended hand and a holy bucket, and this bucket has many holes in it. So what I'm doing is picking up any chunks of wood or rocks or even clumps of grass or weeds that are there and putting it in the bucket as I walk along. This saves strain on my back using a bucket and using this grasping clasper. And I'll put a link to this in the description as well. So just going through, picking up rocks as I get each process done. I do this several times during the whole day as I'm going through it. This is a very hot day today, so the weed seeds being exposed, the weeds that I've disrupted being exposed, really start to break down and die. Now I'm removing and or moving some of the drip tape, the irrigation system, disconnecting it up above, moving it back right up against the dog run. That's the block wall in the background. And there's many obstacles in this garden bed system, unfortunately, but it works for us. But it's not the way I would line it up, design the garden beds, because that driveway goes right through it. Now I'm using the rototiller. It's much easier for me to use the rototiller in this situation instead of the power harrow, because I've got lots of sharp turns to make with this system. And I'm just going over each one of the beds now. The rototiller I'm only using on the beds. The tilther I use on the beds and on the paths. So this goes through and it really does one good disruption, soil destruction, if you will, and breaks up the soil so that so it's not as compacted. And here we've got a tree right in the middle of one of the beds. This is a honey locust tree. So it takes a lot of maneuvering, which is much more difficult with the power harrow. But it does less destruction as well. So I've gone over the beds enough where I feel comfortable that they're in good shape. Now I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go down the outer edge where rocks and lots of deep weeds are in there. So I went over that part of the path with the rototiller. So that's where the fencing will go up, and you'll see that in a few minutes. And again, I'm going back again with my grasper. Any rocks, obvious weed roots, or pieces of hardwood that haven't broken down in the paths are all picked up at this point. Okay, so now I'm going to go down with my flat shovel and I'm going to remark where each one of the beds are. In the other garden beds, I use the power hiller, which is a swivel rotary plow that hooks onto the back of the tractor. But in this area here, it wasn't too bad. I just went ahead, took some of that soil, which is broken down wood chips, and just heaping it right on top of each one of the beds. And then I'm going to go through again with the tilther and make sure that's mixed in thoroughly with each one of the beds as well. So there's the tilther. I've got the path breakdown products of the wood chips now on the surface of some of the beds, and I'm going over each one of the beds with the tilther. And that is just smoothing it out, making the bed much easier to work with and to start seeding with. That way I can get all my beds just nice and neat the way that I want them, which works out really well for seeding. Now I'm using the tilther, going down this path that I hadn't gone down before. There is a weed mat laying there, which the drip tape is on. I'm going right up to the edge of it. You can really control this very effectively, so that now I'm going back over my paths to go ahead and make sure that I'm maintaining a consistent width of my paths so that they can work out very well. And this process also helps me to maintain a nice flat bottom to the paths so it isn't uneven. That helps out when we're harvesting food throughout the season. It also makes it much easier to hold down the tarps because of the height difference between the path and the permanent raised beds. Helps to maintain water in there, and in a high wind zone, that's necessary to have water, snow, and ice to hold down those paths. Otherwise, I'm using lots of stone bags or sand bags to hold down the tarps during the winter months. So now I'm just replacing the drip tape and the water supply system, going down the different paths, so I will be able to go ahead and do seeding. Not seeding, I'm sorry. There will be some seeding done, but we're going to be putting the transplants from the seedlings that we started in the work area. So we're getting close to the end here. I'll just move over here. We'll put the last bit of drip tape in here. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to watch the video. Please feel free to share it. Give us a thumbs up if you think the video was value. And by all means, folks, have a great season and stay healthy and get those gardens started. Bye-bye now.